Hi everyone. I thought I'd come on and make a quick little video on how to make a funky bow. I'm making a funky bow to go with the sign for a Halloween wreath I'm making. I usually use 4 to 5 different ribbons. For this one, these first 4 are what I'm using in the actual wreath, but I've decided to add this purple spider ribbon just for a little extra. Of course, you're going to need your scissors, pipe cleaners, zip ties, and I'm going to use the EZ Bowmaker. So out of all the ribbon, I decided to start with my purple spider. I did that because I want to use purple, then I'm going to use the white ribbon, then the purple again. That way I vary the colors a little bit so there's not too much dark and not too much light. So first what I do is I measure out my tail, and I usually do 6 to 8 inches. That way, once you put the bow on the wreath, you can trim it if you want it a little bit shorter. So start out with your 8-inch tail. I scrunch it up and give it a good twist. This is a new bow maker for me, so it's a little bit tight there and it makes it a little bit hard to get the ribbon in and out. So I decided to do a 5.5 inch loop. You can do 6, you can do 7, but I kind of like the look just of between 5 and 6. So you give it a good twist and then you come on over and do another 5.5 inch loop. I usually pinch my ribbon here because there's no need to do the twist, obviously. But I also like to smooth out my ribbon so that there's no ripples or anything like that, especially in the wire. So I measure out another 8 inches and go ahead and put the ribbon to the side. This tail is going to go down to the bottom, and then you want to make the loops kind of like a cross. So when you're looking at it, it looks similar to an X. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit to see if I can get you a little bit closer. Whoops, wrong way. Sorry about that. And you're going to get a little seasick here because I hit the camera. So instead of using these witch legs, like I said, I'm going to use the white ribbon that matches the sign. This just breaks up the color a little bit, so like I said, you don't have too many of one color. I'm going to go ahead and measure out an 8-inch tail again. I'm going to scrunch it up and give it a twist. This time you're going to bring the tail down instead of up. So you're just going to do opposite of what we did with the purple ribbon. Like to straighten out, like I said, the ribbon so there's nothing puckered there. And you're going to want to make this loop a little bit smaller. So I started with 5.5 with the purple spider, and with this I'm doing 5-inch loops. It just gives it a nice graduated look when you're fluffing your bow. So again, another 5-inch loop. You want to move it around. I move around my ribbons and my tails, my loops, pretty much the whole time I'm making the bow, just to try to have everything lay right and look nice. You know, that's the key to a good bow, is making sure, well, here I did it the wrong way, so don't follow me there. But I do catch myself, and I take that last loop to the top where it belongs. So do as I say, not as I do, right? So I just like to move these around, making sure everything's in place. So now I'm going to go ahead and start on our fun witch's legs. With this ribbon, I have a mix of a little bit of glitter and then some that, the purple one is going to be all glitter. Again, 8-inch tail, twist it. This tail goes up at the top, and then I make a loop about 4.5 inches. You can, go ahead and make it smaller. It's really just a personal preference. I generally decrease the loop size by about 1/2 inch each time. Again, it just gives it that nice graduated look, and it really helps your loops stand up better. And with this bow, I decided to do 2.5 inch ribbon, 3 2.5 inch ribbons first, and then I'm going to finish with the 1.5 inch ribbons. But you can actually do a 2.5, then a 1.5, then a 2.5. It really is just a personal preference. And I do that as well. It just depends on what look I'm going for the bow, for the wreath. Again, I went ahead and made these loops smaller. I keep the tails the same. I always keep the tails the same length throughout. Again, that's just a personal preference. That way when I place the bow on the wreath, I can decide then how long I want the tails. So out of these 2 ribbons, I went ahead and chose the multicolor, the orange, the green, and the purple. Again, I just wanted to break up the darkness of the other ribbons. I mean, it is Halloween. It's supposed to be a little dark, right? But with these fun ribbons, I just wanted to showcase all of them so that they stood out in a good way. So again, this tail went to the bottom, and you want to, switch up what side the ribbon's going on. You want to make sure you alternate it. You don't want to put the same loop over another loop, if that makes sense. I don't think I'm saying that right. Again, I'm just fixing it, making sure everything's laying nicely. You want to make sure your loops are even as well. This one's a little off. Bow making can be tricky, but if you just take your time, make sure everything lays nicely, the wire's laying nicely, everything's in the proper position, that's the best way to start. If you have your wire bent in the center, it can throw off how your bow lays. And we don't want that. We don't want to go through all this, and then as we're fluffing, it doesn't fluff very well because of that. Again, 8-inch tail. This one's going to go up. We're going to go in by about 1/2 inch. If you want to make this last loop just not even 1/2 inch smaller, just like 1/4 inch, you could do that too. I think that makes a nice bow, especially with this pretty glittery ribbon. I really wanted that to stand out on this bow. Again, I pinch, just like fold my ribbon there before I put it between the 2 dowels. So now is the fun part when you're trying to pull your bow off the Bowmaker. What I start out with is a zip tie. We're going to go ahead and use that. First, we're going to take the bow off the Bowmaker, and like I said, this is a new Bowmaker, and I struggle a little bit because it's new and I'm still breaking it in. So I have to be real careful as I'm taking it off of here. But you want to support the bottom and make sure you have all your loops. I put my thumb above so that when the bow comes off the Bowmaker, I have a nice grip on everything. So I go ahead and thread the zip tie through my fingers, and I use my 2 fingers to press down firmly with my thumb. So you really want to hold that tightly and squeeze them together. You don't want any of those loops or tails moving. So before I close the zip tie completely, I fold the pipe cleaner and then, make sure it's even. Then I finish tightening with the zip tie. That way I have something to attach it to my wreath on. You could also use floral wire if that's what you prefer. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I use pipe cleaners. I don't really have a rhyme or reason why I use either. So now after you have the zip tie tight, you can go ahead and trim off that extra piece. And what I like to do is grab the pipe cleaners real tight, and I hang on to that as I move my tails around. Now if you tightened your your zip tie really well, don't be afraid to give these a good yank. Make sure you want to put them where you want them. Right there I'm showing how I use my 2 fingers, and I just kind of do a scissor motion to fluff up that loop a little bit. See, you can also twist the bow a little bit back and forth, and that loosens it up a little bit and straightens it. And just move them around. Don't be afraid to give them a good tuck. Here I'm smoothing out the wire a little bit. Again, very important, to make a good bow. Just give it a good yank. I apologize, I'm out of frame there a little bit. Then what I do is I like to take my 2 fingers and I start at the base of the bow and just smooth them out. When you trim these, I usually trim these top tails a little bit shorter than the bottom tails, and that way when you do this to smooth them out and fluff them up, they stick up more and they give it more of that funky fun look. So then here, just smoothing everything over, moving everything around. Anyone who's made a bow, that you can fluff it forever. But you do have to know when to stop, because I have over fluffed a bow and you can't go back after that. And there we go. That's how the funky bow looks. Nice long tails, nice and perky. And here I just wanted to show you, this is my wreath base. I have not put my ribbon tails on it, but again, there's my sign. And as you can see, my bow drew in all the colors of the sign. So I'm just going to show you here. I did some nice lime green, some nice purple. The black actually is metallic. It's hard to see here, and it has some purple and green on it. I decided I'm going to put the sign in the middle of the wreath. This is a square frame, so it's a little bit different. And here's where I'm going to put the bow. I'm actually going to make another bow and put it down on the lower right hand corner. So we'll have one in opposite corners. And I think that looks really fun. You can see in the upper right hand corner, those are my ribbon tails that I'm going to place on this wreath, and you can see how it brings in the colors of the bow and the sign and the mesh as well. And of course I'm going to trim those tails after I put it all together. I just like to put it on here and make sure that it's going to fit and look good. And here is one more picture of the final product.